Hi guys, really quickly, this video is long enough as it is and it is overdue as it is, but you have not misread the title. It is in fact my July wrap-up. I read 3 5-star books and other books I want to talk about, plus I just thought I would just get all of my other videos that have been like pre-filmed out of the way before I give you some new content. It took me like 2 months to get my life together and my life is still not together, but we are going to push past it and still try to make this a priority. It's just a lot. Junior year, I'm sure you've heard the horrors and they are absolutely correct. Hi, hello, welcome. August is almost over, but welcome to my July wrap-up. You love to see it, don't you? I've been in a filming slump. Didn't think those were a thing, but they are a thing, sadly. It is currently raining right now. It is not a good time to film. I don't know why I decided to do this. But it's fine, because this is late anyway. Who is even gonna watch this? I don't know. So I read 21 books this month. That sounds like a lot, but graphic novels, they come in clutch, let me tell you. Again, a common theme in my wrap-up. These are the books I genuinely want to talk about or have something interesting or insightful to say about them. So if you're interested in what other books I'm reading, follow me on Goodreads. I absolutely love Goodreads so much. I update every single book I'm reading on there, so please follow me if you'd like. July was super fun. I finished my reading challenge of 100 books, which again sounds like a lot, but I dabbled in graphic novels and poetry, and that makes reading go a lot faster, but books are still books. I participated in my first readathon ever, the Reading Rush, so I'll be talking about the books I read for that here. I have a lot of books to talk about. I'm gonna go in star order from 5 stars to 1 star, and in the middle I'm probably gonna include some books I didn't rate, but that's like the star range I would put them in. But again, I didn't rate them, so don't take them seriously. Alright, so the first book I want to talk about is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I absolutely, on God, cannot believe this book exists. I give it 5 stars. It's one of my favorites. Not one of my favorite books of all time. I don't think it's just there yet because I don't think I'm like the proper age to understand everything that's going on in it. Immediately after I read this, I put on my need to reread shelf because I just want to experience it once more. Normal People by Sally Rooney follows 2 characters, Marianne and Connell, from their teens when they go to school together and into the future. It's basically a story about how people can come into your life and come out of it, and how Marianne and Connell have this magnitude and compatibility with each other where they always find each other in some way, shape, or form. I thought it was beautiful. As someone who loves the childhood friends to lovers trope, as someone who's just a hopeless romantic, it was everything I personally could have asked for. Again, I cannot believe this book exists. It's one of my favorite reads of the year. I have so much to say on it, but I don't know how much I'm going to say because it's just so personal to me and just means so much. I finished it in one night, in one sitting. I just opened up the book, read it all the way to the end. It was that good. There are multiple character analyses that do Connor and Marianne really well, so I'm not going to explain, their character arcs and whatever that do that, because it was just such a blur to read. The biggest complaint about this book was the miscommunication and the writing. Personally, the writing, it doesn't have quotation marks, but I didn't really mind it. Maybe it's because I'm easy to please when I already love the characters themselves. As I said many times on this channel, I am a character-based reader. The miscommunication trope, I do agree that happens, but I'm a lot more forgiving towards my characters because I understand what they're going through. I like to put myself in their perspective and see how they could have made the decisions they made, so I didn't really mind that in general. Another complaint I saw about it was how ambiguous the writing was. If you're looking for a story that tells you this character feels this way and this character feels this way towards this situation, this is happening, this isn't the book for you. It's a lot of guessing and it's a lot of understanding where the characters are coming from, and as a character-based reader who is in it for the character development, that is 100% what I'm in for and what I'm willing to read. This book essentially has no plot. It's their plot, what plot? Non-existent. But if you know me, I'm not here for the plot. I'm not here for the setting or the world or for the things going around them or the story itself. I'm here for the characters and I'm here for their journey. So please recommend me books with just character development and just character studies, because that's what I'm in for. That's what I want to read. I'm a simple gal. I know what I like the characters. So if you give me a book just about the characters and about their journey together, why would I say no? I also watched the TV show for this. Obviously, I like the book better. The TV show ending didn't make sense for the TV show, but the ending for the book made sense for the book. But they had very similar endings, both of them, and I don't know, I just felt like for the TV show, that wasn't the direction it was going in, but for the book, it just made sense. But maybe that's a me thing, and I was just thinking too deeply about it. Most people don't like endings like this. I'm not gonna reveal the exact ending, but it's a bit not clear. I personally don't mind them as long as the story was going in that path, and I think this book did that wonderfully. There was one specific part in the book and one specific part in the TV show where my interest dwindled a bit, and it was so weird how it was the same part in both of them. I don't want to reveal the exact part, but if you look at my Goodreads review below, then you know which part I'm talking about. In my opinion, my favorite part was definitely their childhood and them growing up together. Character exposition and just like the childhood friends and lovers thing is just my favorite part. Like deep down, I am just here for the romance. I'm here for the love in any story. I think that makes sense why the Song of Achilles and The Book Thief and now Normal People and Chain of Gold are like some of my favorite books when they have that like nostalgia from the beginning and it continues on throughout the story. And I just think it makes sense, and that's what I want to read. So yes, one of my favorite books of the year. Highly would recommend. What? Would recommend highly. The next book I gave 5 stars was Becoming by Michelle Obama. I listened to the whole 19-hour audiobook and it was phenomenal. It was unforgettable, really. Becoming by Michelle Obama follows Michelle Obama's life growing up in the Chicago suburbs to her life meeting Barack Obama and practicing at her law firm and then becoming the first lady, and it leads until the election of 2016 and sort of life after. It was the best. The thing was, I was anticipating this book. It just sounds like a book right up my alley. It has politics in it. It has Michelle Obama, a woman I admire. I haven't seen a single bad review for it, and that's because it holds up. In my mind, it was 5 stars before I even read it. It was 5 stars while I was reading it, and after I read it, it was 5 stars as well. I love how Michelle Obama introduced political ideologies and political theories, but she didn't use them in such a jargon that was ununderstandable for people who aren't in politics all the time. I'm surrounded by politics every day in the internships I'm in for the upcoming 2020 election, so it was just wonderful seeing how in 2008 those policies or the rules and decisions that Obama made kind of leads up to now. But that's just like a me thing, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this book other than it was beautiful. I'm in like the law pathway for my school, which is basically like a beginner law class. Not really, I don't know. We have different pathways at my school just so you can get some like career readiness. And seeing the law jargon she used in her books to be relevant to what I'm learning in school, it was like a great time. It was beautiful. It's just so beautiful and a little bit haunting to see people and influencers who are big today and seeing how it all started back then and how there's little clues to hint that there'd be something more. Some people were just born to be special, and that's Michelle Obama. It's just great to see those tiny things that moved into place for her to go to Princeton, to come from this family who's not wealthy, and then becoming the first lady and becoming one of the greatest women ever, in my opinion. It's just so touching and so private. I felt like oddly comforted to be in her bubble all the time, and it was just extraordinary. The next book I want to talk about is Cersei by Madeline Miller. I gave this 5 stars. Madeline Miller, one of my favorite authors ever. To explain this book, it is about the sorceress Cersei. If you don't know her story, she's in the Odyssey and she's a witch. What you need to know before I rant about this book is that I absolutely love Madeline Miller. I gave The Song of Achilles 5 stars, one of my favorite books of all time. I'm a Greek mythology lover, always have been, always will be. So seeing it in any sort of writing that's one, written so lyrically, so thought out, so planned out, and so captivating in any way, shape, or form is something I'm in for, so I think I'm a little bit biased when I review this book. But this book, on the other hand, I read 50% of it via ebook, and I thought it was like great, a good 4-star read, good, all of that. And then we came to like the halfway mark and I'm like, wow, there's still 50% more of this book. That's interesting. So from 50 to 60%, I was kind of trudging through it. Madeline Miller writes a lot. She really does write a lot. Sometimes you wonder, how can you write this much? But it's written. It was just dragging through it. It's not a fast book. There's a lot of detail that goes into each character and each storyline and each setting. So from 50 to 60%, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to take a break. So at 60%, I took like a little bit break and then I picked it back up again for the reading rush, and I read the last 40% via audiobook, and it was unforgettable, exceptional. Like, I kid you not, I went from having the most average time ever to having the time of my life. I was at the library and I was just doing these grab and go bags for the kids there, and I plugged in my AirPods and just listened to this book. My life astronomically improved after that. The audiobook was so helpful. I wish I did that the whole time. So if you're not one for those literary fiction pieces or fiction that you don't know a lot about, if you don't know much about Greek mythology, I would recommend starting with the audiobook. Before the audiobook, I really thought it would be a 4-star read, but but when I got the audiobook, it was like an astronomical trajectory going positively. It was mind-numbing, it was beautiful. I know I should be giving some description on the characters and how I felt towards each one, but I don't know what to say. I don't have anything new to add other than I loved it. I love Madeline Miller. I love how fluently she flows everything. Is that the right description? In my opinion, I would recommend reading The Song of Achilles first because that was a much better time. It's very info-dumpy. If you don't really necessarily lean towards Greek mythology, you probably will not enjoy this book as much as I did. I already knew most of the myths that were discussed in here. I knew most of the characters being introduced, so it wasn't anything new or something I had to keep track of everything going on. Don't get me wrong, I do see where if I didn't take a break on reading this book, I would have rated it lower, but just having that break and re-experiencing it, I couldn't rate it anything lower, but I understand. Alright, the next book is a 5-star reread, and that is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. The first time I read this book was in 8th grade. I gave it 5 stars at the time, and with the TV show came out this March, I wanted to reread it before I watched the TV show, and let me tell you, it was a much better time than the TV show itself. I'm sure you've heard of Little Fires Everywhere. It's a suburban white mom drama kind of deal, but it's also more. Don't get me wrong, it's more. It's about these two families, the Richardsons, which is like your basic cookie cutter white family living in a suburban neighborhood. They're wealthy, they're Democrat. And then it's about this single parent mom and daughter family, Mia and Pearl, and it's about them unintentionally disrupting the perfect life everyone in Shaker has. As someone who's grown up in the suburbs all my life, I thought it was very relatable, and I thought it was also just more than just drama. My favorite part of the book was actually the separate storyline in it, which has to do with Mia, who's the mom's co-worker. I'm not going to reveal anything about that particular storyline because I didn't expect it at all. I didn't see it coming. I didn't even know it existed, so reading it, I was in shock of how much I loved it. Celeste Ng is one of my favorite authors of all time. Even though this book isn't one of my favorite books of all time, it's still 5 stars. It was still amazing, and the writing and the detail she takes is exceptional. I really need to read Everything I Never Told You. I think it's going to rip my heart apart. I also want to do like an analysis on each character in this book because they were so unique and so different, yet they perfectly matched each other and had great parallels and symmetrics happening. It was different but so familiar. What pushed me really to rate this as a 5-star read is that I am nowhere the target audience for this. I'm not a mom. I do not want any children. White drama, not really the types of books I read. Mia, the mom, is an artist, and we talk a lot about her art and the form she uses to communicate what she's trying to tell, and I'm in no way an artist in any way, shape, or form. So those factors should honestly like hinder my experience. And I do also see the other criticisms of where the writing was slow in the beginning and doesn't really get to the point, but I thought it was worth it, and I thought it was something that I've never read before. It was amazing. About the TV show, I would give it 0.5 stars out of 5 if I could. They just changed the characters so much. The characters and how they each fit their own stereotype with each other and with, you know, the society they live in was my favorite part, and I understand how things have to be changed to make it more televised, but the things that were changed and the motivations that were also changed weren't my favorite part and weren't something I was a fan of. Would read the book. The TV show, on the other hand, not a fan. Okay, the next 2 reads are like 5-star reads, but not really, because I changed my opinion on one of them. They're both of Francesca Zappia's books. I don't want to pick it up, but here's Eliza and Her Monsters, and I've hidden Made You Up because I changed my opinion on it. I gave both of these books 5 stars. I read Made You Up 4 times, and I've read Eliza and Her Monsters 3 times. I've changed my opinion on Made You Up, though. Let's talk about it. Eliza and Her Monsters is a girl named Eliza who has a very popular webcomic with millions of people reading it, and it's about her journey about this new kid at school and how he also seems to like the webcomic, but she can't reveal that she's the actual author of it. It's a story about mental illness and dealing with internet culture, and I just thought it was beautifully written. It's just one of those books that, you know, makes you fall in love with reading all over again. I loved every second of it. It dove a lot more into mental health than I personally remember, because I always see it as like a drawing and artistic story when it's so much more than that. 5 stars, would recommend. The next book I want to talk about is Made You Up. I have read it 4 times, as I said, and I just have complicated feelings towards it right now. Made You Up is about this girl named Alex who has schizophrenia, and about a guy she meets who is on the autism spectrum. I just don't feel the same way about it because originally it was my favorite Francesca Zappia book out of the 2 I've read, but that's not the case anymore. 1, the harmful schizophrenia representation. 2, the mental illness representation was also not executed very well from the people who deal with mental illnesses that she has mentioned. And next, like, the plot itself was very weird. I don't remember it being this inherently hard to understand, but I was like, what did I just read? Don't get me wrong, I love Francesca Zappia and the adorable relationships that she writes. That's like honestly my favorite part in the book she writes, is how well she writes the relationship between two teens, because they're actually depicted as teens in the book. So at the end of the day, for Made You Up, I was like, what am I reading? I took my star rating off, and I just recommend you to read Eliza and Her Monsters. Alright, the last 5-star read I read this month was Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I'm not going to explain this book. It's my favorite book of all time. Am I pointing to it? There it is. Emma from Emma Sterling sent me a copy from my Amazon wishlist, so thank you so much, Emma. She'll be linked down below. I love her so much. She did not have to do that at all. I gave it 5 stars, obviously. Chain of Gold follows these demon hunting heroes called shadow hunters in the Edwardian era in London, and it's about a tale about this new demons that are coming out and a mystery of why they're coming out in the daylight and how they're harming people. But it's more than just the mystery. It's about the journey the characters have together and different things that develop and evolve, and it was a beautiful time. I've read it 5 times at this point. I'm on my 6th reread. I think I'll always be in the middle of this book, and I'm not mad about it, at least until Chain of Iron comes out. It's just my type of book. I've been expecting it for so long. I love Cassie Clare. I love the Shadowhunters series. I don't mind how many times I've read it because I will read it again and again and again. Okay, now onto my 4-star reads this month. I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I gave it actually 3.5 stars, and that's honestly after I read it I gave 3.5 stars. It's becoming a movie on Netflix, so I'm super excited to be watching it. It is a weird description, and I'm going to be very vague about it because I don't understand anything that honestly happened. Basically, there's a couple and they're traveling to the boyfriend's family's farm just to meet the parents for the first time, and on the way back they stop at this high school and some creepy things go on, and the whole time the girlfriend is thinking of ending things in the relationship, as the title suggests. And it was a weird time. I didn't understand it, but I was like okay with it. I was like, okay, I kind of understand it. And then I go to the Goodreads Q&A section and I'm like, wow, I didn't understand a single thing. Everything I thought was a lie. What did I just read? Everyone I saw who gave it high praises read it via audiobook, so please read it via audiobook, because via physical book I felt stupid because I was like, this, what? I also heard the ending was like really big and scary as a reveal, but in my opinion there was much more freakier things happening throughout the book. It's like a 250 page book, so I don't know what else is there to say about it. It was short. The writing was done very well because it was simple writing, and that's kind of hard to do. Seeing the story as I understand it now after reading the Q&A section, I was like, this is kind of genius. But again, that is after I read the Q&A section. The next book I want to talk about is Lighter Than My Shadow, which is a graphic novel. I didn't rate this book, but I am putting it in the 4-star range because I really liked it. It is a graphic memoir about the author and her life overcoming sexual abuse and anorexia and an eating disorder and other mental illnesses. I'll put the trigger warnings down below. I included this in my mid-year book freakout tag, and it's a book that made me cry because I just wanted to be there and I wanted to help the author here. I just wanted to hold her and be like, it's okay, you'll get through this. As I said before, it's a graphic memoir, so I just don't feel comfortable slapping a rating on it and like rating the author's life on my enjoyment versus what I gained from actually reading it. I don't want to be like, 4 stars, your life was like pretty okay, I really liked it, good for you, so I didn't rate it. This graphic memoir deals with a lot of serious topics, and it gave me so much insight on the recovery process for an eating disorder. In my opinion, I would recommend you read it. It's very important. Now we have a hefty 3-star list. I'm going to try to zoom through this because editing me, you're probably going through it. I'm very sorry. The next book I want to talk about is No Exit. I actually haven't talked about it yet on this channel. I gave it 3 stars. I was actually shelving an adult fiction cart at my library. I saw it on there and it seemed like a pretty short book, so I brought it home and I finished it in one night in one sitting, and I liked it. The reason I finished it in one sitting is not really because I was like encapsulated in the book that I couldn't put it down. I was just procrastinating cleaning my room. So I didn't want to get up and actually clean my room, so I was like, I'll just finish this book and then I'll clean my room. This was the first thriller I read all year, which is surprising considering how much I used to read thrillers, but they all kind of just blur together at some point, let me tell you. No Exit follows this girl named Darby who's traveling through a snowstorm, trying to go to the hospital where her mother is, and she has to stop at a rest stop for some time because it's snowing and she can't drive. And then on her way inside the rest stop, she sees a car, and in that car something's moving. She checks inside the back window and she sees a child in a cage. So she needs to figure out who at this rest stop is harboring this child and how can she save this child. I heard some pretty good stuff about this one, and it had some jaw-dropping, gory parts of it, but it didn't do anything monumental for me. I would say this book is more action-heavy than I would have liked because I personally like more psychological and analytical thrillers. I also really love the main character Darby, who's a very much hero-like character. She wasn't as annoying as some thriller main characters go. Like, she had a plan, she wanted to do what was was right, and I enjoy that. If you're in for some tricks, if you're in for some jumps and some scary moments, I would recommend you to pick it up, but it wasn't anything life-changing. 3 stars. Also, it would make an amazing movie. Please let this be a movie. I would love for it to be a movie. It would be a great movie. This should be a movie. The next book I want to talk about is Felix Ever After. Follows this black, queer, gay, transgender teen, and at his new school he is dead named and harassed and exposed for his past. And it's about him retaliating and just becoming who he is and discovering what love means and finding himself. It's a great coming of age story. As I said before, it's super important. I like the direction it went in, but personally on the overall book, it didn't hold the same. Every character in this book was inherently like good or evil, very black and white. And honestly, the biggest complaint I saw in this book was on Felix himself, on how he's a very easy to judge, easy to expose, and easy to insituate character. I didn't mind that because he's a teenager, and as I said before, I'm very forgiving of my characters. It was more on like the other characters in general that I thought didn't really have anything new to add. It's like all of them were there for one thing, and once they accomplished that one thing, we never really went back on them, or they just stayed as a background character. I also thought the overall plot and story was very predictable. There was nothing that exactly new that happened, or the things that I didn't predict that happened I thought were thrown out of left field. So that's what made me rate it 3 stars too. Just like it. The next book I want to talk about is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which I've heard everyone rave about, and I gave it 3 stars because I liked it, but again, romance has not been hitting for me. Get a Life, Chloe Brown follows Chloe, who is trying to get a life after like a near-death accident. She realizes she hasn't exactly been living because of her chronic illness, so then she moves into her new apartment and meets the superintendent there, Redford Morgan, and Red is still trying to recover from his past relationship, and he's just like overall nice guy. And it's about their kind of hate to love romance situation together, of where they have to work together, and then he ends up helping her solve her list, and that's very cute. There's a lot of characters in the story, so if you're looking for like a big cast of characters, this is the book for you. Although we only follow Chloe and Redford, there's still like a lot of other background stuff happening. I really love the parallels between Red and Chloe. I love how they complemented each other and how they like essentially made each other grow and become better people. It's cute and whatever, but I'm just like not satisfied by it. Like the banter was okay, the romance was okay, it was fine. I liked it. If you're looking for some sexy times, if you're looking for just a cute romance story where it's emotional yet compatible characters, this is the book for you. I just felt very nonchalant while reading it. It wasn't anything new, wasn't anything more. The highest I think I ever wanted to rate it at some point was probably a 3.5, but other than that, nothing pushed me past 3 stars. It didn't make me feel a particular way. It's just like an overall good book. So if you're in for a good book, this is good. Okay, we're almost done. As I said before, these aren't all the books I read, so if you actually want to see the books I read, you're gonna have to follow my Goodreads. The next 3-star read I read was Kiss Number 8, which is a female-female romance, but more. I gave it 3 stars because it actually had a coherent plot. It's about this girl who's dealing with why she feels attraction to both genders, and then she's dealing with her mother and father relations because she doesn't have the best home life, and then she's dealing with friendship issues because her friends don't understand her, or she doesn't understand them, and then she's also dealing with her grandfather and his past. So it's a lot going on. I was just surprised this graphic novel could tackle so much in such a short amount of time. If you want to read a coming of age story, if you want to read a book that deals with a lot of factors but at the same time wants you to continue reading it, I would pick this book up. The last book I want to talk about, I gave 1 star, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. Beach Read by Emily Henry follows these 2 authors, January and Gus. January is usually a romance author, and Gus is like a I don't even know what author he is, but he's like another type of author, and he essentially looks down on the romance genre. They were at school together and they kind of had like a rivalry, and this is them in the future. January moves into her dad's old beach house, and it's about a summer of them trying to, I don't even care. I don't care. I'm not even gonna talk about this. I hated this book. I gave it 1 star. January didn't do anything for me. Her whole personality was daddy issues, and especially written by a woman. Hello. As a character-based reader, I'm just going to be talking about the characters. I'm not even going to be talking about the stupid cult stuff that went on, or how it was trying to be a thriller and tackle different topics all at once. Like, whatever, good for you. But about the characters, January was such a millennial, and the most annoying type of millennial, where all she wants to do is talk about coffee and Facebook. And then Gus, maybe it's just me, but I just don't find 30-year-old men attractive, and it's not even the age that really put me off. It was just about the way he talked like he was a teenager when he's clearly a grown man. And I've read other romances that I've enjoyed. For example, The Kiss Quotient. I really enjoyed that. 4 stars, great book. But what drew people into this book? I don't know. It was just annoying. She just makes stupid decisions. And if I read about Gus one more time and a stupid crooked smile, and it's just like nothing was there for me. Nothing. Everything that happened, I didn't want to read it. I didn't care for it. I want to say so many negative things about this book, but I repressed it from my memory where I don't even talk about it. I hated it. I hated getting through it. I hated starting it. I hated no, not for me. To end this video, I started reading the Avatar graphic novels. The first one is The Promise. I'm not going to give my rating on the Avatar comics or rank them until I've read all of them. I plan to do that hopefully in the near future, so subscribe if I eventually do that. I love Avatar so much. It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. If you haven't started watching it on Netflix, it's on there. My August and Indian readathon TBR is linked down below if you want to watch it. I will be reading Such a Fun Age in August. I'll be participating in the Indian readathon. I just have a lot of books that I'm so excited to be reading in August, so please check that out. Thank you so much for being supportive and watching this video. It just means the most, and I hope you stick around.